Hi guys, welcome back to our lesson. We are still looking at solving circle geometry riders, right? These are just questions that we adapted from past papers just to show you how do we apply all these theorems that we have done under circle geometry. So let's look at one more question, and then at a later stage we'll look at another question that we need to solve. So the question says O is the center of the circle. So remember, I did tell you the points that you can think about based on a center. By the way, we actually call these words things like trigger words. We normally call these trigger words, meaning that they trigger some theorems that are implied yet not really said. You see, so you need to be able to know what they're triggering you to think about, right? So you don't just read it as though it's a novel. No, every important word like a center, quadrilateral, on the circumference, all those things are important because they are telling you something that is implied based on the theorems that we know. Then they say quadrilateral ABCO is drawn with A and C being on the circumference of the circle, and then we know that AB is a tangent. AB is a tangent. Remember when we started I said this means we must think about the 10 chord theorem, or we can think about tangents from the same external point. But as soon as they introduce another tangent, which is BC, it means that now we can think about tangents from the same external point, do you see, being equal to each other. Then the other thing they tell us is D is the midpoint of chord AC, and AD is equals to DC. Now, on all of this, the last thing they tell us is E is the point on the circumference of the circle with center O. So they are just telling us that E lies on the circumference. So if we were to use E, we'll need to consider some things that have to do with it being on the circumference. Now, AC is given to be for 8 centimeters. Now, since D is the midpoint, it makes AD to be equals to 4, and it makes CD to also be equals to 4. Right? And then OD is 3, and then the others is X and X plus 4. Now on the diagram, to apply this, I'm firstly gonna go straight to AD and say that is 4 centimeters and that is 4 centimeters, right? And then you know that OA and OC and EO are all the radii of the circle. They are all going to be equal to each other. So if I find one, I know the others, right? And then what more can I add? The other thing I can add is X plus 4, which is BC, because it's tangents from the same external point, right? Tangents from the same external point. I'm just writing it as tans to say tangents. Now, to calculate with reasons the size of D1, that's the first thing we need to find. We know that as soon as this is equals to that, right, because they are tangents from the same external point, and AO is equals to OC, it then makes ABCO a kite. So what do we know about a kite? The diagonals intersect at 90 degrees. Or because that will take us a bit of a while, because we need to first talk about it's a kite. We can simply just say D1 is 90 degrees, and then we say the radius is passes through the midpoint of AC. You remember the radius chord theorem, right? The very first theorem that we did under circle geometry. So I will then say D1 is equals to 90 degrees, and my reason for this will be radius chord theorem, right? Theorem. But then to write it in great detail, you would then say line passing through the midpoint of a chord, right? Or radius passing through the midpoint of the chord. And that's why D1 would be 90 degrees. You can go through the route of proving a kite first. It might just take you a while. Most of the time you'll see that this is 1 mark or 2 marks. Now, we also want the length of OA. Remember, this is the radius of the circle, right? So what I will then do is I know that AD is 4 centimeters, so I will focus in triangle AOD. So I will then say in triangle AOD, I know that I will have AO squared is equals to 4 squared plus 3 squared, right? This is just theorem of Pythagoras. You can see they didn't talk about reasons, because when you talk about theorem of Pythagoras, you don't need reasons. And this will be equals to, this is 16 plus 9, it's 25, and that's AO squared, therefore AO is equals to 5 centimeters. And then the next question is calculate, now with reasons, the size of A, right? The size of A will also be 90 degrees because the radius is perpendicular to the tangent. So A will be equals to 90 degrees, and this is radius perpendicular to tangent, because we do know that those are tangents and that is a radius. The value of x if x is greater than 1. They just want you to find x. Whatever you get it as, it must be a value that is greater than 1. So what do I know? I know that this is 4 there, right? And then I know that this is 5. I know that this is going to be x there. And then it means EO will then be also 5, making ED to be 2 centimeters there, right? It might not look like it, but because EO is the radius, it will be 5. So I will say in triangle AOB, because it's a right-angled triangle, I will know that x plus 4 all squared is equals to, okay, so it can't be equals because that's not the longer side. So let me just quickly fix it. This is not the hypotenuse side. The hypotenuse will actually be BO, right? So this will be plus the other length, which is 5 squared, and this will be equals to BO, which is x plus 5 all squared. And then you can solve this, right? So it will be x squared plus 8x plus 16 plus 25 equals to x squared plus 10x plus 25. The 25 and the 25 will be 0. The x squared and the x squared will be 0. 8x and 10x will then give me 16 is equals to 10x minus 8x. Therefore, it will then be, lastly, 16 is equals to 2x, then x will be equals to 8. And it is actually greater than 1. Now, just one last question. They say to us, a circle passes through A, B, and E, right? And then this is a parallelogram ABCD. We have a tangent there, which is BC. Now, if we apply all of this that they've given us here, right? We know that AB is equals to AE, right? And C1 is X there. The first question will be, why is B1 also equal to X? And your reason for B1 being equal to X will just be corresponding angles. Corresponding angles, because AB is parallel to DE, right? Because we were given that. And then the next question, which will be just 3 more angles that are equal to X and reasons. Firstly, we know that this is equals to X, and that is a tangent, right? BC. So meaning it makes E2 to also be equal to X. So firstly, I will say E2 is X, and this will be 10 chord, right? This will be 10 chord. And then I know also that B2 will be equal to X, and this will be angles opposite equal sides. And then lastly, we need one more angle, which we then will say is E3 because of alternate angles. This will be E3, which is equals to X, and your reason will be alternate angles. And that's what you will then need to do. So firstly, we used the fact that this is 10 chord, and then we found B2, and then from B2 we know we have alternate angles, which gives us E3. And that's how you can then solve these questions. All right, guys, I want us to take a quick ad break so that we can just freshen up a bit, drink a glass of water, and then when we come back, we'll look at some more questions. Please stay tuned. I'll be back just now.